Every story has a version you've heard and a version you haven't. The facts are there, but facts don't always explain behavior. And behavior is where the truth starts to surface. We don't rush to conclusions. We don't chase noise. We look closer. We ask harder questions. Because sometimes what's missing matters more than what's known. This is SheNanigans, criminal conversations, where facts guide discussion and perspective changes everything.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Carrie.
Good evening. How is everybody doing?
Hopefully everybody's good. It's a Tuesday. No, what night? It's Thursday. I can't even keep up. You're the one that doesn't feel good, and I can't keep track of the day.
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday, and we've got a very well-known subject matter for everybody tonight. So we're going to hop right into that here in a second. Just a couple of real quick housekeeping things. We have Kansas Gal 67 moderating the chat. So Carrie and I may not interact with the chat right away. We want to get through some information. We'll have an area for questions towards the end of our discussion, but feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the chat, and Kansas Gal will stay in the chat with you guys and keep things going. But we'll try to monitor as best we can until that point. So, but Carrie, I'm going to actually let you introduce this case because I think you have spent a huge amount of time on this one. I know that I've tried to as well, but you've been sending me stuff. Like, you found some incredible things. So I'm gonna let you introduce the case.
Well, I did find a lot of things, a lot that we would just put in the rumor pile for now. 16 children. They were found living with their mother, biological father, and their bio father's parents. So their paternal grandparents. They were all living in a house. The police were serving a warrant. The father of the children, I guess he had a job delivering like Uber Eats or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, at 4 different times, I think it was, he was caught with indecent exposure. Now, I don't know what that means. If he showed himself to somebody or he was caught urinating in public, we don't know what that means. But as the officers served this warrant, somehow they came across these 16 children that were basically locked in a 12 by 12 room in the basement with no bathroom, no running water, nothing at all. Horrid conditions. They said it was the most horrible that they had seen in that county ever. And all 4 were booked into jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we go from there.
I guess so. Let me see if I can. I was playing around with the slides. I keep forgetting they're on screen. So as we get into this, Carrie and I are very big about just sharing the information we know to be true. And there's not a whole lot of it, although there's a ton of speculation, a ton of social media claims, a ton of assumptions. So we just want to be respectful of what's actually true and what we actually do know. We want to be thoughtful about all of this. There are family members out there that are going to be listening and watching social media, and they're not going to feel like they have a place to say anything, and they've probably been told they can't. And so we kind of want to be respectful of that, because again, our mission is just to be as factual as possible. The rumors, the speculation, all that things do weave their way in there, but we are very clear what's rumor and what's not rumor, what we can prove. So with that, I'm going to switch over to why this thing matters. Carrie, do you remember when you heard this case hit the airwaves? I do.
I believe it was last Thursday, wasn't it?
I think so.
We did a live that night, and I think I'd heard about it that day. And I wanted to add to what you were saying, too, that with this case, there are 16 minors involved, 15 minors. We'll say 16, though. And
right.
So we as people, as humans, we need to be really careful, especially with a case like this, of what we put out online, what we put in writing online, because as you guys know, the internet is forever, and these children will eventually see what was said about them, about their parents, their grandparents. And right now, we don't know the full situation. So I just
Right.
want us to be careful and keep in our minds that at the root of this case, there's 16 children.
Yes. Even if I know they said the eldest one was 18.
Yeah.
They're still, their mentality is not of an adult by any means. But I think that's why this case matters. 16 kids. That's huge. It's not like they were foster care or adopted. These are all from the same woman. That's mind blowing. I can't
And the
imagine.
mom, I think we didn't mention earlier, the mom is only 33 years old.
Yes. Which is blows my,
Adds a lot more questions.
it does. And so I had taken, if we get to it, I was listening to the arraignment of all 4 suspects, and we'll list them here in a little bit. But yeah, there's 16 charges spread between all these 16 little individuals. And I took down the birth dates of each of these. And originally with the 2 gentlemen, Gary Siders Jr. and Senior, that's the arraignment I saw first. And I think they were arraigned before the women were. There was, let's see, 3 of the kids they didn't have birth dates for right away. And then they amended that. But she was pregnant nearly every year for 20 years. And it just blows my mind. I mean, the most amount of time between 2 pregnancies was 2017 to 2018. It was actually a year and 1 day. She had 1 child on October 26th, 2017. And then on October 27th, 2019, she had another one.
And keep in mind, she started having babies by the time she was 15 years old.
So, and I think that's something that we can break into that in a little bit when we start talking about her are these the only kids out there? Because we find that there's others. So we'll kind of get into that. But how does 16 kids, how do you have 16 kids and nobody know about it? That's, I'm coming from a mother of 3 kids. Who's always had teenagers coming and going in and out of my house. I can imagine flying in under the radar with that.
Especially, I believe that this village they live in Ohio, the population was around 700. They'd lived there for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very small population. And gosh, I know that the neighbors and stuff are already, truly upset that they didn't notice something beforehand. But it's an obvious question is how did it go miss, without placing blame on neighbors or whatever, but how were the warning signs missed, and were there warning signs? Surely there was some.
There had to have been, and I think we've got a portion of tonight's show where we're going to focus on maybe why that is. There's some cultural things to cover. We don't know if these directly apply to this particular family. They seem to fit. So it's a good point of conversation, and we'll get into that later on. But some of the other things you have to ask is, are these people aware of their own conditions? Did they have did they know there was help? Did they have access to it? I would presume they do. I live in Kansas. I know there's help out there for everything. So
they have the cognitive ability to know how to get that help.
That's kind of where I was going. I'm not sure. I saw the arraignment, and that's an interesting conversation to have too. So, but man, if this is happening here, I'm a firm believer. If it happens in one space, it's happening in another. Definitely. So where else is this happening? So that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring up this case. Karen and I didn't do a whole lot of, digging into the family themselves. If you go online, you'll see, oh, Carrie, I saw post after post after post of, I've talked with the family. I talked with the family that day. I'm still talking with the family. I'm like, how many of you are talking to the family? How can they get anything done? And by the family, they're talking about extended family members, siblings of the mother of all these children and her family and such. And I'm just like, how is everybody contacting these people? So I have questions about that, but nonetheless, so I know you kind of touched on the timeline, Carrie. I kind of um, thought this is probably maybe a good way to break the timeline down because you mentioned the discovery was based off of the what is determined to be the father of these 16 children. He was wanted for exposing himself. Did I
Yeah.
lose you? Oh, there you are. I was like, did I
No,
lose you?
I'd
So
really like to know what the exposing himself was, because in my mind, there is a little bit of a difference. You have to go to the bathroom real bad, you run behind, I don't know, a barn, and you go to the bathroom, and you get caught. That's it. You're gonna catch a charge, possibly.
right.
Or was it actually exposing himself? Because those, I mean, in my mind, they're two different things.
Oh, it really twists the narrative of what's happening in that house significantly. Because when I first heard the exposure charges, the first thing you go to is, "What are you doing to those kids in that house?"
Right, exactly, exactly, and I
But
think that that's why what those charges are matters.
oh, yeah, absolutely. It also matters too, as we talk about the culture later on, you made the comment, you have to go to the bathroom, you're just gonna go relieve yourself behind a building and you get caught. When you
Mhm.
see these 4 being arranged, you kinda have to wonder, like, do you guys know modern toilets? Like, do you like, what is your cognitive ability in today's standard of living? Um, so that I it would be really interesting to see those charges. I'm sure they're out there to find. I don't know if I heard that they had been sealed,
Yes.
once this had happened, so I haven't seen them, but I'm sure somebody has them somewhere. I'm sure somebody did the work before this all really turned out. So they're going to serve a warrant on Gary Siders Jr., the father of the 16, as far as we know, and I've heard speculation all across the boards as to who fathered all these kids. Um, so then they go to the house to serve the warrant and essentially take him into custody, and that's where they find the kids, or at least the conditions, maybe, because the kids were downstairs in the basement. Is
Yeah.
that your understanding? A 12 by 12?
Yeah, 12 by 12 in the basement. The only way into it was from the outside door. There wasn't a way into it from inside the house.
Oh, it's like a cellar then, like,
Yes,
storm
yes.
cellar. Oh my goodness. Was any of the did you see any reports? And I don't remember seeing the reports. I knew they're 12 by 12. I didn't realize it was downstairs.
Yeah, I wanna say
Was
that the
anybody with
whole
them?
house. Huh?
Was anybody with the kids downstairs?
Not that I know of. And, I was gonna say the whole house, I believe, is only around the area of 1,200 square feet or so with 1 bathroom. So, for 20 people living there
Yeah,
in a
that's
1,200 foot or so home.
that's amazing.
They
Well, and
paid their rent on time every month.
so there's some understanding of adulting and responsibilities of
Yeah,
an adult.
yep, somebody made sure the rent was paid on time every month, so
Oh, that's well, and I kinda have to wonder about the renters. I know when you look up the ownership of that property, it's in a trustee. The owner of that trust passed away last year, and I think that trust has been managed by family members, and I don't know how the rent got
yeah,
paid.
they said that, they received their rent on time every month, so they never thought, to look into, and most landlords probably wouldn't. Um, I don't know about, like, the outside of the house or the windows, what those look like. As a landlord, I might have been concerned, but, I mean, I'm sure I would have been concerned. But, yeah, they just said that they paid their rent on time every month, so they just didn't get involved.
Can you I don't know, that's so crazy to me. Um, and I'm pulling up the address right now, because I saw the address, I went to Google like everybody else did, and, I there is questionable things just from the Google. I am a landlord, my boys live in my home that I own, and I check on the house all the time, so I'm like, "You guys need to clean this up, this doesn't look right, this looks terrible, do something different," and, but I stay on top of it, I don't know, I guess some people, um, I don't know. Would you check a house if you were renting it?
If I was renting a home, yeah, I definitely do like drive-bys to make sure it looked like it wasn't falling down or anything for sure. But I know, here where I live is a small town, and we have somebody with a ton of rentals in town, and no, they don't really bother you. I mean, unless you just don't pay your rent. So,
Yeah, that could be true. I've brought up yes, I do want to share my screen. Um, I brought up the house. It's just a Google
right, Debbie,
image.
that's what I was saying. Debbie said my son's friend almost was arrested for urinating in public on the other side of my son's truck until the deputy saw he was with my son. He was told he was lucky he knew me.
Oh no.
Yeah, see, that's why I say
Oh,
to me there's definitely a difference in what those charges could be.
yeah, absolutely.
But from the outside looking like that, I mean, it doesn't look great to me at all, but I've definitely seen worse. And it's not really surrounded by very many homes. There's a railroad track right there by it,
Yeah, it's literally across the street.
across the street, and then there's just not really any other homes right around it.
No, there's this residence down here. And what's odd when you look at Google Maps, it actually identifies this as, I think, Chester Street. Um, and
Mhm.
so it's kind of weird, but it's just a driveway. There's
Right.
nothing there. But I don't know how Ohio is set up or if that means anything. But now the property, when I looked at ownership, let me get this out the way, or not, that's fine too. So this is the property right here. So this whole property is owned by the trust, and you can see Chestnut Street is right there, which is kind of weird. So I don't know if that's just
Right.
a glitch on. But it's very. I'm sure this is not a highly traveled road. You're out here because you need to be out here. So maybe that's one of the ways they were able to stay out here undetected for 4 years. With 4 years, that'd be what, 2022. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 kids less, essentially. Um, they would have moved sometime in 2022.
I
So
feel like if you were trying to hide for something like this, I feel like, well, I mean, if it were me, I would think more in the terms of going to a bigger city where you more easily are going to blend in than a town of 700. You're not blending in
right.
very good in 700.
Well, I tend to agree with that because I think back to JC Duggard, who was kidnapped and she was held hostage in a shed in the backyard in a
Mhm.
populated area of California. Nobody knew
Right.
she was there. Elizabeth Smart was taken out in public, and
Mhm.
she was in Salt Lake City, but she was covered up. I think they put a burqa on her, something to cover her face. Um, so I mean, you can hide anywhere. I tell you what, doing this kind of true
Right.
crime stuff, I look at sheds and rickety places a little bit differently now. Or just if I see a train car like on the set of train tracks, I look at those with a very odd feeling anymore. But I don't know. But I think when in one of several words in several of the conversations you and I've had, Carrie, I think you mentioned there was a Dollar General store worker
Mhm.
who claimed to have seen the kids,
Yeah.
but never, like, they took the kids out, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
they would take them out a couple at a time. I don't know if it was the same couple of kids or if they took different ones all the time. But yeah, the dollar store worker said that she had seen them the night before they were arrested. That the kids, when they would come in, they would not talk. Their hair would be down in front of their face,
Oh, wow.
and they didn't speak at all. She did say, "I wish I would have called sooner," and I caught that on her interview. So I don't know if she also did eventually call them in. I just found the wording interesting when she said, I wish I would have called sooner." But the neighbors there are definitely very distraught and upset that something
Oh.
like this happened right underneath their noses, and they couldn't do anything for those children.
Well, what I mean, so and that's part of the thing. Well, as we get into the conversation a little bit, that's something I definitely want to dive into is, excuse me, why nothing was said.
Mhm.
And I've done some research on that, and I think it's very interesting. Definitely want to hit on to that. But we've got the investigation. The children are located. clearly there's medical need left and right for these kids. I think you said 2 of them were life watched. They were airlifted out of there?
At least one was. I'm not
Okay.
sure if there was two. I know one for sure was.
And I know they
A
needed
couple
2.
were also hospitalized.
Yeah, level 1 trauma units. There's 2 of them went to level 1 trauma units. And then several of them were just taken by ambulance to the hospital. Obviously, they all needed medical evaluations. They've all been put in protective custody. I don't know much about their current situation. If they're, I presume they're in foster care situations, in special needs foster care. I'd like to
Well,
believe
I
that's
don't
what
know.
this.
So how would they find homes for 16 children like this in
You
a
got to split them.
small county in Ohio?
I'm betting because of how close they are to. I think Columbus, Ohio, is the next big major. Let me look again, but I think that's the next biggest metro is Columbus. Um,
I don't know if they can go outside of the county for stuff like that.
I
Surely they can, but
I
I'm
would
not
think
sure.
so. I would think they
'Cause I know, like,
could.
each county has their own division
Right.
of,
Um,
child protective services or what may be. But I was just thinking, along with many others, that placing 16 children in this condition would be so hard to find families. So Kelly said 2 were flown out and one of them was intubated. Okay, that's what I thought I heard. I just didn't want to repeat it. I knew for sure one was flown out.
oh
So
my
that sounds
goodness.
right. It was 2.
Yeah, I would think in situations like this, jurisdiction has to share the love and it's a cost, right? You're going to counties are going to have to figure out who's going to help pay for that cost for foster care. I cannot believe it. And counties got enough foster care situations for 16 kids over. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been overnight. Some of those foster care parents would have been called and said, "Hey, we've got a child. They're in the hospital right now. They're special needs to a certain degree, or they've had special circumstances. Can you take them?" So maybe there's a couple of days notice. And it's really nobody's business. We don't have to embark on that conversation a whole lot because it really doesn't matter where they're at. They're as long as they're safe and they're getting healthy. That's what matters the most. But in terms of custody, 4 are under arrest. You have Gary Ooh, I knew I was going to mess that up. Gary Siders Sr., his wife Christina Siders, which I think she goes by Lynn, and then Gary Siders Jr., which is their son, and then Gary Sider Jr.'s wife, Elizabeth Siders. And so I think my understanding is Gary married Elizabeth when she was 15. Is that right? Is
Yeah.
that I believe that's what I'd seen. It's been what's confirmed is she was 15 and thusly had her first child shortly or had a child shortly after. Not her first child. I think there's some I don't know if it's speculation or evidence, but it sounds like her mom was raising her first 3 kids.
Yeah,
Is
I saw
that
that it's a speculation, and I saw that that was deemed that was not the truth.
okay?
So I'm just not sure about that yet.
That'd be interesting if somebody in the chat has seen that. I'd seen anything from 3 kids to 5 kids, and I thought 5 might be a bit much for a 15-year-old. But 3 is still that's a lot at 15. But we can. Well, then you need to talk 16 kids later. And so we've got the 4 arrests. They've all been charged. There's 16 criminal charges against all of them. All of the charges are the same. I think 12 of those are for abuse of a minor that led to serious physical harm, and the remaining charges are alleged harm. So all of those they're second-degree felonies. They carry a few months to 12 years of sentence plus up to $15,000 fines, and then up to a potential of 18 months post-release control by the state of Ohio. So they've all been appointed counsel. The court all entered non-guilty pleas for them, and they are there's a bond situation for one of them that we understand.
Yeah,
We'll get in.
Combined, they had a $300,000 bond, I believe it was.
Yeah,
But
each one had a 300,000 cash or surety bond. I think I'm saying
right.
that wrong. And so but I think one was reduced because of the medical.
So the grandfather, law enforcement said that he took a fall and he was hospitalized, and they came to find out that his medical issues are very, very extensive.
Yeah.
It would absolutely break the county if they were to have to pay for those. So, in order to keep the county from having to pay for these medical expenses of Gary Siders Sr., they actually dropped his bail to a self-recognizance with a ankle bracelet. So once he is released from the hospital, assuming he will be released, we don't know what is truly wrong with him, but assuming he's released, he will be released on his own recognizance, meaning basically he just signs his name to say, yes, I will show back up to court. I'm not, a risk, a flight risk, things like that.
Where's he going to stay? Can he go back to that house?
No, I wouldn't think so. And I would think that he would have to stay with, somebody would have to stand up for him and say, hey, you can stay with me temporarily. Something like that.
That's a big ask. I don't think they have family in the area, do they? Or I guess, I don't know. I should have looked at
No,
that.
I don't think so.
But I don't think they have any family in the immediate area.
Gary Siders and Christina Siders, they do have 2 other children.
Yes.
So they have, is it 2 daughters or daughter and a son?
I thought it was a daughter and I know I've seen a male speak, but I couldn't remember if he was son or son-in-law, because I know that one of the son-in-laws been talking.
The daughter of Gary Siders and Christina Siders actually just had visited them, I believe back in April, and she said she didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary.
So, okay, that's interesting, because I saw some supposed photos of the house. Somebody claimed to have broken in after the children had been rescued, and it was a complete trash hoarding situation. I thought, well, there's no way you can't even walk.
No, and I had read that those were all AI pics.
That's what I thought.
That's the horrible thing about AI, is not knowing what's real or not real anymore.
Well, that's the thing, is people using AI for clickbait and likes and algorithm development of their social media. And it's like, that's exploitation at its worst. You're using AI to create a situation that may not have ever existed. We don't know that's what those conditions were. So that was, I'm glad you saw the same thing I did and you looked into it. I forgot to go back and look into it until I was just now thinking about it. But the investigation is still ongoing. They're still looking at stuff. So the charges could, depending on what they determine, depending on what they find, they've already been amended once. So we'll have to see. But again, you've got Gary Sr., his wife, Christina, Gary Jr., and Elizabeth. They vary in ages from, I think, late 70s to Elizabeth being roughly 33 years old. All the 16 felony counts, they each have identical accounts. They've all been arraigned, and they are, I don't know if they are doing a preliminary or what the next steps are. I know we've got...
So they all skipped a preliminary. They forfeited that and asked to go straight to a jury trial. Is it
doing the grand jury first to get the indictment?
Yeah, or would have to go to the grand jury first. But they declined their preliminaries.
So for those of you who are not legal beagles, Carrie's gotten way better at this than I have. This has been quite the learning curve for me based on some of the other cases we've done. When you've been arrested for a crime and you've been arraigned, you go through the process. One of the first steps in that process is a preliminary hearing, which is where the prosecution presents evidence to say, we have enough to go to trial. And they present their evidence. The judge says, yeah, okay, I agree with you, or nope, no, you don't, try again. And so that determines whether you go to trial or not. If an accused decides not to, or they decide to waive their preliminary, then the grand jury gets to see the information to determine, yeah, you can go to trial or not. And so that's where we're at with this case. And it's, I can kind of see why they didn't want to do the preliminary. How would you even go about trying to speak to that on the defense side?
Right.
I don't know. It's crazy. So that's what's going on there. Charges could definitely change. And again, we're talking accused, alleged. The court of law says everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So we'll see what happens on that one. But I don't know. This is one of those, I don't know. It's, you get into something like this and you kind of have to take it, I guess, beyond the house. What else has been occurring? You definitely have to remember child welfare is a huge player in society. It's not to say that people outside the home are responsible, but what if that Dollar General person did see these kids and she could have called? Could that have changed things? Could it have been any different or any better?
Right.
I don't know. It's
Well, I think we've
devil's
all
advocate.
been, taught see something, say something, but in the same breath, mind your own business.
So, I'm actually going to skip over to this slide, the culture and isolation oversight, because I had to do some research about this and how do you get 16 kids in this state as 4 adults. When you go and look at their arraignment, you kind of have to wonder, are you guys okay? You guys can pay your rent, but are you guys okay? And so if you're looking at rural Appalachian, and I grew up calling it Appalachian. Is it Appalachian? I feel so weird calling it Appalachian. Okay, that's so weird.
And also, I wanted to add, grandmother and grandfather were getting Social Security payments, so that is probably how their rent got paid, their bills got paid. My guess is, for whatever reason, they did not have food stamps, WIC, things like that. And so they had what they needed to pay those absolute necessities, and food just didn't fall into the line of necessities when
That
they
makes
needed
me
a roof over
shudder.
their home.
I shudder to
And,
think what they
we
were
don't
eating.
know. The adults might not have been eating anything more than rice themselves. We don't know
The
that.
ramen noodles.
Ramen noodles, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have to, when you look at this part of Ohio, this is Hamden, Ohio. It's called a village in Ohio. I'm in Kansas, so we have towns and cities. We don't have villages. If you're out in the country, township. So this is actually what they call a village in Benton County, and you can see where it's located on the Ohio map. This is rural Appalachian area. And if you start looking at what Appalachian mountain people, and that's not to be derogatory, that's
right.
That's what they're known for. They live in the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have strong family ties. They're very self-reliant. They have a huge amount of distrust for outside institutions. And this is going to be some of them. That's not trying to make a blanket statement, but they don't trust outsiders. They don't trust the government. They don't trust, schools and things of that nature. The wind just seriously picked up. Oh my goodness sakes. I need to shut this window. So sorry. They also practice early marriage and parenthood. Historically speaking, generational norm is that girls get married somewhere between 13 and 15. Parents will sign their daughters off to be married. And so if they can't do it in the one state, they can cross over into another state where it could be legal to get married at the age of 15 without parental consent. And so, and they can do all of this. This is happening all over the Appalachians, and I'm sure all over the U.S. in different spaces. This is just that geographical isolation. Nobody knows you're there. Nobody knows what you're doing, so nobody can report it unless you're living in a village and you get caught doing something maybe you shouldn't have been doing. So one of the other things I was looking into is something called geographical cure, because these folks have moved around a little bit. And the reason for doing that is you stay under the radar if you keep moving. And as long as nobody asks questions, nobody offers you anything, as long as you feel like nobody sees you, you can stay put until you can't anymore. What are your thoughts, Carrie? I'm going to let you speak for a second. I'm going to shut my window.
They pretty much stayed kind of in this regional area. I mean, to me, I know it's been said they moved around a lot. To me, if somebody moved 4 years ago, it doesn't necessarily, to me, I don't think, well, they move around a lot. I just moved 4 years ago, so I don't know.
Well, no, these guys had moved. They've got several, when I look back at their locations, there's several addresses for them,
like
from
short-term and stuff.
Short-term, Ohio, Wyoming, West Virginia. And so they have moved around and within those states quite a few times. Wyoming was their shortest stint, I think. I'm sure the winters were terrible for that many mouths to feed and keep warm.
Right.
Um, so,
Yeah, there could have been multiple reasons for that moving around. I mean,
oh
it
yeah.
could be to stay under the radar because they knew that they were doing something wrong. And that right
Mhm.
now, we're not sure what that wrong is. We just have a general idea.
Well, it's wrong to
What
them, right? Because they're marrying off at 15 years old and having babies. So to them, that's not wrong. But to you and I, that's like, no, you're not. You are not marrying at
Yeah,
15.
yeah,
I mean, I've got a 16-year-old at home. I'm like, you are doing nothing of the sort. I think
right.
that's pretty common, uh, at the generally speaking. But maybe they, as soon as somebody started asking questions, or maybe they decided, nope, well, we're not, we didn't want to be seen. We're leaving. I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of those parents in Appalachia area, they all of this stuff that you said is absolutely true. Um, but I also think at the same time, like, a lot of them they are sending their kids off. They're saying, get out of here, do this right, go make money. They're not wanting to repeat that cycle over and over. And that is the case for many, many of them, even if they're still
Hmm.
getting married early and things like that. But it doesn't appear at this point that in this family there was anything to try to make um, at least the younger ones do any better for themselves. When I say the younger ones, I
Ugh.
mean the parents of these
Right.
children. And I don't know how long the mother and father or the in-laws lived with them. I had thought it was pretty much the whole time, and then today I'd read it wasn't. That this was
Oh.
kind of more of a recent last few years kind of thing. And so I'm not real sure on that yet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I
So
presumed the same thing. They'd always
the
been living
context
together.
behind that was kind of that the grandmother was developing Alzheimer's. She used to homeschool some of those children. The grandfather had stroke. He was in really bad health. I don't know, did they move in so the son could take care of his parents on top of we don't know. We don't know those answers,
No, and it wouldn't surprise
but
me
they're
if there was a
coming.
care yeah, hopefully. It
Yep.
wouldn't surprise me if there was a caretaker situation
Mhm.
given the arraignment and the way that these people were acting. Um, I just I don't know, I have a lot I would love to see the psychological reports on these folks. That would be
Right.
fascinating. But there's something to this, like, this is not a bad lifestyle at all. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Loretta Lynn. She came from the Appalachian Mountains. She was a teen bride. She was 14 or 15 when she married her husband, and her first baby followed shortly thereafter, and she went on to be one of the best known country western singers of all time. And so it's not always a bad thing, um, but I think there's just different ways of handling life, and that there's some things
Right.
you need to know, and then some things you don't know, and you just kind of just make the best of it, I guess. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know. So this just kind of maybe helps to explain the why behind some of what they were doing, but it does not excuse anything.
Right.
It doesn't justify. Having explanation doesn't mean it's right. It just explains the why. Um, but it's scary. I can't imagine living in the mountains and having, well, I don't know. I can't imagine being off the grid like that.
No, I don't think you do very well. I don't think you do very
When
good.
I when I go quiet, people are like, "Hey, you've been quiet for a couple minutes. Are you okay? Shut up and leave me alone. Let me be."
And
Um,
Dawn Miss, we've seen that as well. Um, but then I've also seen that that's been disproven. So just really
yeah,
not sure yet.
yeah. I'm not. I haven't seen. I
And
think
I
they're talking
think
about that
too,
before
going back
too.
to what you're saying, Tara, I think that a lot of times, like situations like this, you don't miss what you don't know. So to you and me, this is just like, what in the absolute hell?
Yeah,
It's absolutely wild to us, but to other people, this is normal, and
I know, and that's what's crazy. It's
it's
normal for
their
them.
normal, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's I just I cannot imagine, and so I can't blame the immediate the community, because a lot of these places are, you mind your manners, you mind your business, you don't get involved in other people's business. They solve, communities like this, they solve a lot of the problems on their own. They don't get
Mhm.
law enforcement involved. They don't get other entities involved because they don't trust them. So I don't know. There's got to be either a level of ignorance or a level of incredible intelligence to be able to keep 16 kids hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
That's
That's wild.
I don't know. It's hard for people that I know to hide a pregnancy for more than a few months, but
Mhm.
yes, and the number of pregnancies, I mean, we know of 16. Well, I say that's not true, because she had twins. She
Yeah.
had 1, 2, 3 sets of twins. And I know what there was. It wasn't there a photo that showed that there was a set of twins that did not, like, they passed
Joined
with.
twins is what they were saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's yes. I
They're saying
forgot about
those
the
are
conjoined
conjoined twins.
part, and
So
it's.
she had all of her babies in a hospital.
Oh, she
They
did.
Yes, she did. So that's the one thing that throws me off. She did have all her babies in the hospital. They said that during the press
Whoa.
conference. And the fact that they, did a marker and stuff for the conjoined twins, I don't know, it's just crazy.
How did she get out of that hospital with the? Did she bury the twins where the marker was at, or were the twins termed
I don't
enough
know.
to?
I assume the hospital might have helped them at that point. I don't know. I
I
don't know
have
how that works.
questions. Yeah,
I
because
don't know
I
how
think my
that
next
works at all.
assumption would have been, and I wouldn't have mentioned it in that it's open. I would have presumed they had them all at home that nobody knew about
Yeah.
because, oh, that's the birth certificate. So that was one of the things that was mentioned in this. I want to play this clip. Oh, I did the wrong thing there. This clip, how I cannot find my. Okay, here, hold on a second. That's how I did it. It's like, where did my share screen thing go? Okay. So you are way better at this than I am, but we're going to do it anyway. So there was a press conference, and I believe this is the gentleman on screen right now. If you guys can see it, I think this is Gary Senior's attorney. So let me play this. It's only a few minutes, and I'll stop in between so we don't get red tagged for stealing content.
To assist me
Can we hear that? We cannot hear that, can't we?
in the prosecution. Also, Annika Collins, who is the Highland County prosecuting special prosecutor.
Can you guys hear that?
In the prosecution. Also, Annika Collins, who is the Highland County prosecuting attorney.
Carrie, can you hear that?
I cannot.
Huh.
As she is an
Well,
Did you press to play with audio?
Well,
Or maybe turn it up if there's a place to turn it up at.
let me see if I can do that.
Like we can hear it, but it's just there you go.
The other thing, finally, on
Here, I'll start it over that way.
prosecutor to assist me in the prosecution. Also, Annika Collins, who is the Highland County prosecuting attorney, I also filed a motion to have her appointed as a special prosecutor, as she was an old colleague of mine when I worked in Highland County. Both of these women are outstanding prosecutors with extensive experience in child cases, and they will do nothing but help our team progress through these cases. The other thing finally on that point is, for the taxpayers, these special prosecutors come at no cost to Benton County. They've either volunteered or they're being paid by their respective offices. Point number 2, I think most of you are aware now that Gary Siders Sr., the older Gary Siders, was provided with a bond today, an OR bond. Let me explain the circumstances around that. First, let me stress, the community is not at risk because of this bond.
Here are 7 schools that will
Oh, for the love of St. Croix.
right now if their SAT
Sorry.
score is high.
Yesterday, as you all know, the cases were scheduled for preliminary hearing. During the transport, Mr. Siders fell and had a medical issue that required treatment and assessment. O'Glenda's Hospital was where he was taken, and it was determined at that point upon some tests that O'Glenda's did that Mr. Siders Sr. has a serious medical condition that requires specialized care in a hospital outside of this area. Practically, and I don't know if you folks know this or not, but when defendants are housed in county jails, it is the county's responsibility to pay for the medical care. Prisons are for defendants who have been convicted. Then the state pays for it. But he is still an innocent man that has not been convicted yet. So the county is going to be on the hook for his medical care. And again, based on the information we were provided, his medical care could potentially bankrupt the county. We were talking about.
That's exactly what you said, Heather. His condition could bankrupt the county. That's scary.
Yeah.
He's in bad shape.
Yeah, I was thinking like for him to have to been taken out of that area to a different hospital with something severe, he's looking at like I mean I'm gonna guesstimate it, some serious long-term kind of things that probably aren't going away.
Right. Yeah, so I can see why they did the OR bond. That's the own recognizance bond. So that's why he is where he is at.
Put that burden also on our local taxpayers. And so it was agreed that we would do a recognizance bond so he could get the medical treatment that the doctors say he needs and won't cost the county that money. If he's released from the hospital, he will then be equipped with a GPS monitor. Also, if you haven't already noticed on the docket, his defense attorney did file competency motions, as I'm sure you have noted.
Okay, I just realized I misspoke. This is the DA, not the defense attorney. My bad.
This from the proceedings in which he's been present, there's certainly been some issues about his ability to go forward on the prosecution. So his defense attorney decided to file those motions to have him assessed. That is all I have at this point. I'm willing to answer.
So they're going to have him
questions
assessed to
related.
make sure he could even stand trial mentally. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen with the grandmother too.
Yeah, same.
Maybe all of them at this point.
I was going to say, I think the only one that has a chance of being competent for trial is Gary Jr. And I think that has some questionable restraints to it. Yeah, I really do.
To that, I will stress with you, our office has specifically not addressed the factual nature of this case because it is still under investigation. There's a lot of information still out there, and in fairness to the defendants, particularly to the victims and to the community, we're not releasing information until it's appropriate to do so. Again, having said that, I'll address whatever questions there might be.
Some your seniors attorney had criticized commenting about other offices stated that children were trying to try to case in the court of public opinion. How do you respond to response from the attorney?
Mr. Baum filed a second response and indicated the comments not made by me. And I made that clear. If you go back and review the comments that I made, I simply laid out what happened in court. And that it wasn't human trafficking because that was a major issue to the community, and I want to make sure they do. This was not human trafficking.
What was your expecting?
So real quick, Tara, what he's discussing is that the attorney of the mother, what is her name? I'm sorry.
The mother is Elizabeth or the mother or okay.
Elizabeth. So her attorney said, basically kind of summarized, he was a little bit annoyed with what he considered politics being played when the first press conference was held, and they basically called the children feral, said that they had never seen living conditions like this, that animals in their county are treated better than these children are. And so Elizabeth's attorney is the one that brought that up. And so that's what he's responding to, you know, is basically, do you agree with this?
Well, and I think that I would say those is calling the kids feral, saying, this animals in the county are treated better than this. The way they described the situation, I think, was out of line. I think that is possibly, poisoning a potential jury
Right.
pool.
And that's kind of what her attorney was saying, and I could agree with that too.
I do too. As much as I hate this situation, that's why it's called fair trial. Oh,
Very senior need. What kind of test, what kind of care is he going to?
You know that that's a HIPAA issue, and that's not anything that I can address.
Elizabeth's attorney has expressed concerns that she could be a victim in this case. Is that something your office is looking into?
According to her attorney, she's not a victim. So
Wow.
we'll let him.
That's not really how he said it. Her attorney said, according to her, she's not a victim. She very well may not see herself as a victim.
Stockholm syndrome. You wouldn't know if you were.
Snipey right there,
Mhm.
Mr. Prosecutor.
I was going to say, that's definitely a prosecutor's answer. And that's one of those things that does need that delineation. Her attorney says she's not.
Right.
Her attorney may be defending it in a different fashion. So you need to delineate that, because that means something. That's going to the mentality of Elizabeth for certain.
Him decide how he wants to address his representation of her.
Has anyone been able to speak with or interview the children?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Has anyone been able to speak with or interview the children?
No.
Are there any questions about the mental
No.
capacity of the other suspects?
They've not talked with the kids at all.
It was just yesterday.
Yeah, this was a day old. Yeah.
Wow.
Let me double check. So one day, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when it came out. So they haven't been able to talk to those children yet.
Well, I know some of them are nonverbal, right? That's been some of the reports out there. But 18 months old, I've got a kid that didn't speak till he was, 18 months, 2 years old, and I have one who started speaking at 7 months. They're all different. Certainly, some of them could speak. They were around speaking adults. Wow,
Yeah.
I would think they would have asked. I don't know. Maybe they did speak to him because the kids aren't speaking. I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
Maybe they have to bring in specialized people to speak with them too, or something.
That could be true.
hasn't been done. I don't know. I'm trying to think positively here why they haven't been able to speak to these children.
Yeah, spitball in the comment section. Tell us what you guys think. That's just have not spoken to the children. This is a week old. All right.
Capacity, again, that's up to their defense attorneys to whether they want to go down that road or not. So that's a better question for them.
Elizabeth. Media has been a big part of this case. There's been a lot of attention online. Can you speak to how in the past your office and how this moves forward?
If you've seen some of the stuff on the media, social media, there were pictures that the kids were in cages, that they were taped shut, their mouths or whatever. The problem with social media is you don't have to be telling the truth. You don't have to be saying anything that's accurate.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people put stuff like this on.
Yeah,
It's
those
not
were the
truthful.
AI photos.
Oh, I did not know about those. They people were putting together photos of kids in cages with their mouths taped.
Mhm.
What is wrong with people?
As if it's not already bad enough. Why in the world does anybody want to go and make it worse? That saddens me that people do things like that.
It clicks and
They do.
likes and developing their algorithm, trying to get the attention, because that infuriates me. That's awful. What a way to exploit children. That makes you worse than these people. If these people didn't know any better, it makes you worse than them, because
That's
know
why I
better.
started this off with saying, like, these kids, one day, hopefully they, are able to turn their lives around and do better and learn to read and write and talk and all the things, whatever it is that they haven't been able to learn yet. And they're going to see that kind of crap. And to me, that is so sad. Like, their situation is already horrific. Nobody needs to make it look worse than what it is. It's already bad enough.
You know what it is, Carrie? I bet it's these people who do these things and they're mindless, and they just kind of shrug off the kids as damaged goods, and
Right.
they'll never know, because that's the rest of their lives. They have no hope, and they offer no positive energy that these kids can turn things around. And that's just that speaks to their character qualities,
The
which
state
is
of
nil.
Ohio, now I don't know like how much money this is in terms of helping to take care of these children. State of Ohio is giving $1 million to help take care of these children with their
Oh,
needs.
wow.
So I
That's
don't
good.
know if that's like a lot of money to help take care of 16 children or not, but they are doing that.
I'm glad they are. Oh my goodness.
It's not accurate, but I can't stop it, and all I can do is shrug my shoulders and say, why are we doing this to this, particularly to these victims, because they're going to be tarnished by this for a long part of their lives.
Just like you said, Carrie.
On the children's condition, are they all out of hospital? Are they all homeless?
I can't answer that specifically, but I will tell you that they are all safe and being cared for.
Is there any evidence that Elizabeth Sider may have had more than 16 children in her lifetime?
Again, I can't address that specific fact.
Were all 4 of these suspects receiving state benefits, if not all of them once?
To my knowledge, only the two elderly, the two oldest, Mr. Grandma and Grandpa, were the only ones I'm aware of that were receiving benefits at that time. At that time, there was this.
Are you still expecting more charges?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are you still expecting more possible charges?
The investigation is ongoing.
When can we expect a grand jury indictment? When do they meet next?
The grand jury is a secret process. We do not disclose specifics on that. We hope to be having information for that within the next couple of weeks. I will tell you this is not Franklin County, who has grand juries every day practically. Normally, the county has a grand jury every other month, which is why the preliminary hearing issue came up, is because we don't have grand jury that often, and by right, the defendants have the ability to have that hearing.
Has anything been done to ensure that all 16 children belong in the same system?
I can't address.
Can you talk about this process real quick? The relationship, what we learned about the relationship of the deceased property owner, any member of the Sider's family?
Other than the tenants, I don't know that there is any.
Were the children have birthdays clause?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Were they tenants, were they baby ones, or were they clause?
My understanding, you were paying rent, yes.
If the children have birth certificates,
I don't know that we have all their birth certificates. Let me answer that.
So he doesn't know that they have all the birth
Yeah.
certificates.
Yeah, it took him a second to try and figure out how to word that
Yeah.
and that is interesting because when I was watching the arraignment, Gary Sr. and Gary Jr. were there. That's the arraignment I saw first. And given the way the judge spoke, it sounds like they were the first two arraigned. And when she got down to, she had initials for the kids that were born from 2008 all the way to 2022.
Hadn't she written them down or something?
She was reading from her paperwork on her desk. She just gave the initials of the kids because they're minors, right? And then she went on to say John Doe A and John Doe B, and their births were 1/21/25. But then she got down to the last three, which was they just had the names, and she read them out. You guys can go watch that, but she read out Isaac, Isaiah, and Wade as the last three, and no birth date was known for those three. But then when she arraigned Christine and Elizabeth, some of that data changed. So we had initials for all the kids and then birth dates, I think, for all of them as well. So I think things are changing by the minute. They're trying to locate where these kids were born, getting their birth certificates from the registrar's office for that specific hospital or that count, that state. So I imagine this is very much like a jigsaw puzzle, trying to find the pieces to put together and legitimize these kids, so to speak.
Yeah. And Dawn, I hope that kind of answered your question. Your question fell right in line with what was being discussed. At the first press conference, they did say that all of the children were born in a hospital.
Yeah, I don't think he addresses that one in this one, but I knew he addressed the birth certificate one. Gosh, I don't know. This has just got a couple more minutes left.
I answered you what I know at this point.
thank you.
Gary Siders Jr. will be in court tomorrow on 4 unrelated
He
charges.
will not. His defense attorney is on vacation and has filed to continue. So if you were planning on coming, I'll save you your time.
Are those the 4 charges for exposure? Oh, okay. So, oh boy.
That has been continued. I don't know what the new date is. Check with county court, but it is not happening.
Yeah.
Was that the parallel investigation that brought investigators?
I can't answer that.
Do we know if anyone in the family was working on the same meeting and got an income?
Again, we will get to some
Why
of those
can't
things
they
when we
say
have
if that was like, if those original 4 charges had anything to do with this? What
I
would
don't
be the
know.
reason they couldn't say that or wouldn't say that?
Does it make them look bad to say that maybe that case could have, maybe they
Maybe
dropped the
it's
ball on it
don't
and they
know
could have,
yet, but potentially, possibly
right.
could. So they're just not linking them together at this point, or
Maybe
not linking them together either.
it's one of those things. He hesitated in such a way, made me wonder, like, why don't you want us to know that? Like,
Yeah.
why can't you tell? Everybody seems to already know that these charges are what brought, police to the house to serve a warrant. Now, was it a warrant for arrest or warrant to appear? What was the warrant for?
Right.
And it was associated with the charges. And so I'm spitballing that because you get to social media and just like they were talking about a moment ago, you use AI to create images that aren't true. People hear a word and think it means the same thing as another word. And so we got to be careful. The law enforcement showed up to the door with interest in Gary Siders Jr. for charges related to exposure. What that exposure was, we don't know. But so were they serving a warrant, a bench warrant? What were they, what brought them there? And then what tipped them off? Be like, wait a moment, hold up. This is, did it become a Welch check because they saw the ailing, Gary Sr. and thought, hey man, are you okay? Like I have questions. I have so many questions, but, yeah, he needs to cough up the tea.
Bit more of an ability to give you some more of the facts. I can't get into that now.
Are there any federal agencies are involved in this investigation?
How many agencies?
Can you speak to if there's any federal agencies involved in this investigation?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do you know that children's services
Interesting.
checks conducted at that home, be it Franklin County, be it Hamden County, was there any mandatory reporting, especially by hospitals or medical institutions?
Yeah, I can't address that, sorry.
The agency charges, can you share any more about that investigation and the allegations he's facing when it comes to that?
I can't. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't know. That's it's not a lot of information, but I guess it is. Oh. So then now what with the investigation? Are you there, Carrie?
Yeah, I was looking something up. Look in the back chat. I sent you.
I just saw it. I'm going into it right now. These were the pictures I saw, Carrie. These were the ones I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, there's no way.
I was trying to look at his complaint and see if it gave any more information, but it just says he recklessly exposed his private parts under circumstances in which his conduct was likely to be viewed by and affront others who are in his physical proximity and who are not members of his household. Public indecency.
So was he peeing outside of his own home?
I mean, that's what
and
it
the
sounds
neighbors,
like.
and the neighbors like, no, sir. Oh goodness. Okay, so are these? If we can confirm this, I don't mind putting this up on the screen. I just wanted. I mean, that's the house. That's the front and side of the house. Gosh, is that?
Well, you can show them. Just give credit to the, where it's up, and then because they have a lot of information on here.
Yeah, I've used them before, especially for distant cases. Let me pull this up, guys. I'll share my screen again.
It's like they have sources for everything except for the photos. So
let's see here. Okay. And then go back to this. I really don't like that they call it that, but whatever. I'm not a fan of them calling it the Ohio House of Horrors, just so we're clear. But this is the crimetimelines.com. They do a lot of, it's almost like a repository for information of cases out there. I'm going to see if I can, let me look at my screen over here. Carrie, I'm going to try to enlarge my screen to give a little bit better, closer view. Well, okay. It didn't do very well. You can kind of see a little bit better. So this is the front of the house is over here. This is the side of the house. So maybe they've been pulling stuff out and throwing it on the side of the house, maybe? I don't know. But the window, Ohio gets cold, doesn't it? In the winter, surely.
it gets cold and hot.
I was going to say, I've got a friend who lives in Ohio, and it gets really cold up there. But this is the living. So they've got a baby seat. What is that called? It's been a long time since a feeding chair. High chair.
High chair.
It's been so long since I've had one of those in my house.
I don't. One of those things you stick your kids in, guys.
I don't mean to make light of that. My brain was just like, "What is that? We know what that is." Oh lordy! And there's the that's a bathroom. Is that a window or a mirror on the wall? Yeah, a vanity mirror with the vanity lights. So that's a bathroom. And here's part of the bathroom too. I can't imagine how you're able to use this or relieve yourself. If this is the house, this can't be right. This is again, it's Crime Timelines. You guys can go take a look at it. Definitely deplorable conditions. This is I'm losing my space.
So let me read real quick what this it's kind of a summary on what the Ohio Attorney General had said the other day. I guess it was like a week ago when they did their press conference, and this was from ohioattorneygeneral.com or .gov, sorry. But it said that they each is charged with 16 counts of endangering children, a second-degree felony. All 4 remain in jail and $300,000 bond. We know that the grandfather, that's now changed. The 16 children were removed from the home and are in temporary custody of Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services. They were initially transported to local hospitals for evaluation. Some were treated and released, while others were transported to elevated medical care and remain hospitalized in serious condition. And then in quotes, this case continues to reveal the unimaginable conditions these children were forced to endure. I said yesterday that what investigators encountered was pure evil, and the evidence we've uncovered since only reinforces that assessment. As the investigation progressed, investigators learned that members of the Siders family have lived in multiple Ohio counties since 2008. They believe that the family largely avoided establishing medical and other government records during that time. The conditions these children lived in were horrific, and we are sickened by it. Fortunately, this tragic chapter is closed, but the recovery will take time. No threat to the public. Investigators believe this case involves prolonged and extreme interfamilial neglect and abuse.
Oh boy. It's heartbreaking. It is so hard to see that.
It is.
It's astounding to me. But again, what's really crazy is this just may be the lifestyle that they know. This may be what they're used to. And I don't understand if those are the real pictures of the house and there was a family member that just visited a few months ago. Did they Did they visit at the house or did they visit off site? Because if I was a
They
family
visited
member,
at the house because there's a picture on the front porch on a bench with the grandparents.
so maybe they just didn't go inside the house. That
It's
did.
possible.
Um,
And then she hadn't had contact with her family in something like 15 years. So there's also that.
yeah. Have you seen the pictures of Elizabeth prior
Yeah, she
to
looked like
this?
a very normal, cute, young, girl ready for life.
She looks incredibly different. Incredibly different.
100% different.
Yeah, I mean, she's like you said, full of life, and then you see her today with the red around the eyes. She just looks defeated and just like death warmed over. It's an amazing change. Of course, 16 kids later, and that's what 13 pregnancies because there's 3 sets of twins in there. I
Well, and with the sets of twins and the number, that were deceased, I think it kind of could be said she most likely didn't have any, if much or if any, prenatal care for any of them. So
I
she
doubt it.
may have simply gone to the hospital. She delivered. Hospital's not, they can ask you how many other kids do you have. You don't have to say 16. They're not going to go knock down your door and
That's a
find
good
out how many
point.
kids are in your house. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Oh,
it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, how it goes. I almost pray that Elizabeth's a victim herself because I hate to think that, any person, a mother, has this in them and that things got way out of hand and out of her control. Maybe she's still stumped at a 15-year-old level.
oh, I think she
As
is.
you and I both know, that happens when there's trauma at a young age. I would definitely think having babies by 15 is pretty traumatic. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of family support and stuff.
Mm-mm.
Um,
No.
Even if she was, I heard she is a wild girl. Well, a lot of us were, and our parents still found ways to help us and
Mhm.
get us through those horrible teen girl stages.
Well, and I
Um,
think I don't know some of the like I said, if your mom had to sign off on this girl to be married at 15, and maybe she was a Spitfire,
mhm.
maybe this, maybe that, it's no excuse to write your
Right.
kid off. And that's where you don't even know if that's true. That's just all the speculation out there. And I've seen a ton of speculation out there because somebody sees something on social media, takes it as God's word, and then runs with it all over social media. And then they start creating AI images that don't make sense.
Well,
But
the mother and father of her definitely did sign off on her to get married to Gary at 15 years old in West Virginia. That is a
yeah.
fact.
And that's again, it's probably not unusual.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. It's to us, it's strange and it's unique and it's not good. It's
We can
not
think
good.
in so many ways, like feel bad for her, feel absolutely terrible for these children that didn't even ask to be brought into this world, let alone this
Yeah,
kind of situation.
exactly.
I don't know about the grandparents yet. My first thought when I saw them, and that was probably bad of me, but my first thought was, oh God, I don't know that they're good people.
See, and I thought
Don't
they
know
were.
that by looking at them.
I figured Gary Jr. was like when I start, processing in my head. I just figured I look at the grandparents. I look at Elizabeth. I'm like, Gary Jr.'s got some power. He's definitely
Right.
abusing everybody in that house. And then
That's very possible.
it is, but I saw his arraignment and just like, oh, okay. You're not that. You're not that. He can. I think he can understand. He comprehends.
He's not
He
at
was
the age level, the maturity and emotional wise that he
no,
should be. None of them
no.
are. So
Oh, there's no way Elizabeth could possibly be having a child at 15. Like you said, that does stunt your
good
brain
luck.
development. And then I mean, that was, the first one was 2008. And then the next one was just a year and 3 months later when she was 16. And then again at 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25-ish.
Jeez.
26. 28, 29, 30. I mean, she's having all these kids. Her brain never developed at all. And I appreciate people who are out there saying she's an adult. She has to be held accountable. You're not an adult if you don't develop into one mentally.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Nobody's going to measure that until they have a reason to.
And
Her
not
being-
to count like what a woman's body can and does go through during a pregnancy. And when you're having them that close together, I have to think of like postpartum, depression and psychosis and all sorts of different things when she's having them one right after another, and twins and deaths of her own babies, and most likely no prenatal care. That's an awful lot.
Her body's been traumatized repetitively. And those are just, we don't even know about the miscarriages in between. I'm sure there was numerous miscarriages. I'm sure some of these are rainbow babies. But it takes a woman's body on average 2 years to heal following a pregnancy, physically, mentally, the whole gambit. Here she is not getting a break. She's still a 15-year-old in her head. And I don't know that any of those other people are any more mentally mature either. And at some point in time, so I don't know about her being held absolutely responsible. I think the law has it wrong when they say you're 18 and you're an adult. Even if you are a fully functioning, healthy individual at 18, your brain hasn't stopped developing yet. Some 18-year-olds are great, mature. They can go out and contribute to society. And others still take a few more years to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. We all go at our own rate.
And
For
that's
sure.
fine.
So I'll be anxious to follow this, and it's such a sad story. To me, it's just sad all the way around, really. And I hope we get some answers soon.
Well,
and I hope that those children are able to be placed in, good, loving homes for the right reasons. The people are taking them in for the right reasons. They have good foster homes that will do what they're going to need to do for them, because it's going to be an awful lot, unfortunately.
I
Whoever
agree.
commits to fostering these children, taking in a huge undertaking. Thankful for them. And I hope the kids can manage to get through this. And if there's still some, in the hospital, that's horrible. I wonder what's wrong with them, that they're still there. And no, but we'll keep following it for sure.
Yeah, we will. But I think that's it for this evening. It's kind of a Debbie Downer and a real, slows down our speed and momentum of what we have been covering. But we really wanted to get this out there without repeating everybody else's work. It just really talk about the psychology of it and the culture of it, because this might be something these folks are used to. But I appreciate everybody being in the chat. And for those of you on the replay, thank you for viewing this. And I know I'm not really good at asking, but it just dawned on me, if you guys will hit the bell, the subscribe, the like. I think that's all the things you're supposed to say on these channels. I don't know. I have no clue, but like, oh, good. I've been watching you. But we'll move on to the next case next week. We've got one in Kansas that we are considering. It's a Munchausen by proxy syndrome. That piques my psychological interest a great deal. And so we may do that case. Carrie and I will talk about it. But we'll follow this one and continue following the other cases that we have been. So thank you all for being here. Carrie, I love having you here. I'm always glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys.
All right. You guys have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Every story has a version you've heard and a version you haven't. The facts are there, but facts don't always explain behavior. And behavior is where the truth starts to surface. We don't rush to conclusions. We don't chase noise. We look closer. We ask harder questions. Because sometimes what's missing matters more than what's known. This is SheNanigans, criminal conversations, where facts guide discussion and perspective changes everything.